Hey folks, Jim and Leila here for episode 208 of Geeking Out. We are 2 weeks away from episode 210.
Yeah.
Wow, we've been doing this a long time.
Yes.
Anyway, let's start off with some sad news, of course. This week we lost a comics legend, one of the last elder statesmen of comics, as it were, Joe Kubert.
Yes. Our thoughts go out to his friends and family.
And at least we still have the legacy to go
of his
on.
work.
Of his work, and his sons are continuing the tradition in a grand way. And we really can't say enough about what Joe Kubert did for this industry, because there's nothing that can't be said about that hasn't already been said.
Yes, exactly.
There is no one like Joe Kubert, and there never will be again. But thank heavens his sons are continuing the tradition, and we wish him Godspeed, and thank you for everything you've done for this industry and everyone in it. Alright, so let's get to some comic book reviews, shall we?
Alright, so first up we've got The Victories, and this is from Michael Avon Oeming. Dark Horse is producing it, and this is a little mini-series. This is number 1. And in this one, the citizens of a broken city are protected by a team of heroes known as the Victories.
Hooray!
And in this issue, one member of the Victories, Faustus, fights to protect a politician from the murderous Jackal. Because even corrupt politicians need heroes.
Faustus? That doesn't even sound like a good guy. Yeah, naming my superhero name after the most evil thing in existence.
Yes, well, he is very sort of conflicted. He goes back and forth between being perceived as like a good guy or a bad guy, and some of it is because the city is so corrupt, and so no one expects anything good out of anyone. So anyway, this is just an introduction. You don't see the other members of the Victories, and they're only vaguely alluded to, so we have no idea where that is yet. But I can't say that I'm that interested. This is a really ultra-violent book, and there's no rating printed on it to give you that sense.
What's up with that, Dark Horse? Where's the rating on this?
Yeah, where's the rating? And in fact, you have a cover that looks very much like Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
Which would kind of intimate maybe kid-friendly somewhat. So I don't know, that kind of threw me off, because I totally didn't expect that going into the book. So heads up for you, comic shop owners out there that have this on the shelf. You have to take a look at this one before you just sell it to anybody.
Yeah. We've been coming across quite a few books that have been either not rated correctly or underrated.
Yes, this just has no rating at all.
Yeah, so really, that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I think that's something Dark Horse should look at. And it just has a lot of violence for violence sake.
I mean, we don't need the comics code back or anything like that.
No, I'm not advocating that.
But we do need to have an actual standard for ratings on comics.
Exactly. That's only fair, I think, to ask. Especially since there's a lot of kids interested in the industry now. And, as a parent, you have to be able to, if you're not, looking at these things with them, you need to know, right?
Yeah.
But I guess that's also another thing. Parents should be actively looking at what their kids are reading.
Parents should be very aware and active in what their children are reading, and not just letting them read whatever they want.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're going to get a kid that's screwed up in the head. Like me!
Possibly. So, I can't highly recommend this one, but if you like, really dark, kind of superhero fare, really bloody and gory, then maybe you will like this one, and it might be for you.
Alright, next up we have Pathfinder number 1, written by Jim Zub with art by Andrew Horta. And in this one, Valeros can only depend on his sword and his friends, the sorcerer Sione and the elven rogue Marisol. But nothing can prepare them for the dangers that lurk ahead as an ancient evil tries to establish itself anew in the realm of Varisha.
Yeah, this is based off the Pathfinder role-playing game, right? Yeah.
And it even comes with a poster and map.
Nice.
So, if you're a fan of the RPG system and whatnot, it's kind of a Dungeons and Dragons offshoot, I think.
Yeah.
You're gonna have fun with this. This is actually a fun fantasy story.
Yeah.
With a bit of sci-fi thrown in as well. An adventure, yeah. I actually had quite a bit of fun with this one. Jim Zub's writing is really good in this. I've always liked his stuff, and I'm enjoying his stuff online for a couple websites that he's doing. Cannot wait to read the Klonoa comic because I'm a huge fan of that video game series. But yeah, I quite enjoyed this. The art is really fantastic in this, and the story is plodding along at a good pace.
Yeah.
And you get to know these characters a little bit through the story. So always a good thing, especially if you're not if you don't
not
know
into that world.
Yeah,
Right.
if you don't know about this thing will give you everything you need to know, including character sheets and everything else.
That's cool.
And of course, in the middle, there's, like I said, an actual map and poster. So yeah, if you want to check something a little different out, check this one out, because it's actually a lot of fun, and you might get more interested in the game and check that out as well, because now you'll have a map.
Yes. Okay, next up we've got Jericho, Season 4, Number 1. That's right, Jericho fans. It's not on TV anymore, but if you want to know the continuing adventures of the characters you love, this is the place.
Because pretty much every TV series that was canceled will come back as a comic eventually.
Yeah, it seems like that, right? Like, is it even next week there's another Buffy book coming out, the Buffy Spike thing. Yeah, so, and they're doing, there's another series that's canceled that they're doing in comic book form now. I wish I could remember what it is.
There's a couple.
So it's Smallville.
Yeah,
Smallville. They're doing Smallville.
Yeah.
So
I wish they would bring Tremors in as a comic, but that's just me.
There you go. So anyway, here we go. Jake and Hawkins return to Jericho with John Smith in tow, a man who can get them access to the Precipice, which is a flash drive with critical JNR intel to help the East win the looming civil war. He's also a man with a plan to turn the tide of the war.
What is with these men with plans?
I know, right? But things are not the same in Jericho. Eric and Mary are married, Mimi and Stanley are expecting a child, and Allison has run away to join the ASA volunteer draft. And even more disturbing, Valenti has dispatched a mole to Jericho. Will this safe haven be destroyed?
Oh, but moles are so soft and cuddly.
It's not that kind of mole. So this is pretty good. It's got intriguing characters, a solid story full of action and intrigue, and it's got really accomplished artwork that really resembles the actors from the show,
which is good. Because not a lot of comics try that.
No, and I think for if you are trying to transition from TV to continuing on a series, you really do have to give credit to the actors who brought those roles to life.
Now, the thing about Buffy is maybe the characters don't always look like who they are on TV, but the writing is what makes it work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I would agree. The writing is so good in this one, actually, too. And I'm not a huge Jericho fan. Like, I'm somewhat familiar with the television show, but only slightly. But I think that if you are a fan, you're going to be happy with this continuing story. Again, you're going to recognize the characters, and it's continuing on their story. I mean, who knows if you're going to like the way it's going, but, that's all a matter of taste. But so if you're a Jericho fan, make sure to pick this one up.
All right. Next up, we have The Adventures of a Comic-Con Girl. And in this one, we follow Dana on her adventures in and around the comic convention scene as she tries to find her missing signed copy of Werewolves vs. Ninjas vs. Zombies. Okay. Where to start on this piece of crap?
I'll start with a positive.
All right, I'll let you have your positive moment before I go into
downhill
all
from
the
there.
negatives.
I did like how when they're doing the flashback sections, how they went to sort of like the sepia colors that really so it really stood out that this was like a flashback as opposed to what was going on now.
Yeah.
But so for that, I thought that was cool.
All right, so where this book really suffers is pretty much everything else. And I hate saying that because I love AP. Don't get me wrong, I've worked with them in the past and I'll work with them again in the future, but this is just terrible.
Yes. I didn't like
this is a character you cannot like.
No.
And even though they try to redeem the character at the end, you're like, it's too late.
It's too many pages of me hating her.
this character is irredeemable.
Yeah.
I cannot stand this character. This character would be someone who, if they showed up at a con that I was helping at, I'd say, get the fudge out, man.
Yeah.
I don't need no one shitting on my floor.
Yeah.
And going, I shit on the floor. Yay for me. It's like, no, that's not how the real world works.
No, that's not cool.
And just the sheer audacity of this woman character. And if this is based on a real person who has the same name as one of the writers here, I feel sorry for this woman.
Yeah.
I really do. This book just made me cringe.
Yeah, and I don't
And
really
I've
know
been in the convention scene for over 15
and never
years.
heard of stuff
Not
like
only
this
as
happening.
a creator, but as a fan.
Yeah.
And anyone who I've ever seen like this, I stay away from.
Yeah.
These are not people to be trusted around or even be close with. And that's what really disgusts me about this book is that they're trying to set her up as the hero. And she is just a user. And I cannot stand people like that.
Yeah, she's pretty horrible.
And I'm sorry, but I really do not recommend this book at all.
No.
The art is terrible. The story, you cannot care about this character at all. And quite frankly, there's no redeeming quality whatsoever about this book. And I hate saying it, but it's true. And I cannot recommend it. And if you see it on the shelf, don't even bother looking at it. It's just not worth it. And I apologize to AP for saying this, but it's true. I just did not like it. I'm sorry, but do not buy this book. It is absolute shit.
Next up, Avengers versus X-Men number 10. So, previously, with the help of the Scarlet Witch, the Avengers were able to defeat 3 of the 5 X-Men inhabited with the Phoenix Force, leaving Cyclops and Emma Frost more powerful and more determined. Now, in this issue, Cyclops has arrived at the Avengers safe haven of Kunlun and is demanding they turn Hope over. Iron Fist and Iron Man fight to protect her, while Cap and the others make plans with Professor X, who has decided to enter the fray because Scott and Emma are really falling under the Phoenix's dark influence.
Hooray!
Yes, like that's a surprise. This is evident back in Utopia, where Emma is ruling with an iron fist. The tables finally turn when Hope lives up to her potential, but what is the source of her abilities? Can she control them, and what will be the cost? This series is awesome. Period. If you're not reading it, Marvel fans, why not? It is just so good. I really like it. I hope that it's not going to be another one of those big Marvel events where it's like, it's awesome, it's awesome. Oh. I hope it doesn't end like that. But so far, it's just so good, and I'm just enjoying it so much. So, like I said, if you're a Marvel fan and you're not reading this, really, you should be. At least the main series. Like, I don't know about all the tie-ins, because I haven't read
Quite
everything.
a few of them have been terrible.
But I really enjoy the main overall story. It's just been so good, and I just hope that it ends in a good way.
All right. And last up for me, other than a book from last week that people kept asking about, is Minx number 1. And in this one, which was sent in by the writer, Andrea Grant. Hi, Andrea. In this one, after a vicious attack, Minx slips into a coma and finds herself in the dream time, the reality people inhabit while they sleep. And she must become a warrior to stop an agenda to turn nightmares into reality.
Sounds cool.
It is. It's actually a lot of fun. What happens in this book is, yes, she has an accident. She slips into a coma for 7 years.
Ooh.
But it doesn't look like she ages a day. Whereas everyone else around her, after she wakes up, has aged and everything.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Is it possible that she's still in the dream? Or
yeah, that would seem like the most likely.
Etc.
Yeah.
But really interesting premise here. Very interesting character. I really like the Native American imagery and everything in here. It's beautifully done. This one came out last year or so from Arden, but we never got a chance to review it, so I do want to thank Andrea for sending it in. It is simply beautiful, and I really had a good time reading it. So if you want to check out a little something different, and with really nice story and really beautiful art, check this one out. I quite enjoyed it. Alright, and because you asked me to talk about it,
they brought out a color version of Scott Pilgrim. They
brought out a color version of Scott Pilgrim.
This is only volume 1.
This is volume 1 of 6. And sadly, you're going to hate me, but I do not like this book.
Yeah,
never
just putting it in color is not going to change his mind.
No, not, the colors are nice, okay? I'll say that. The colors are really nice. But, quite frankly, this is a character, like in Comic-Con Girl, that you cannot care about. This guy is a douche. And quite frankly, everyone around him is almost pretty much a douche. And you feel sorry for these people that he hurts.
Yeah, that's true.
Not just on a level that, this character is just...
Yeah, like, because he's all about Ramona, he just totally forgets everything else. And
the thing is, he's got a girl who's mad in love with him, and he pushes her to the side like she's a piece of crap.
Yeah.
And, yeah, of course she's gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
And try and kill you.
Good for you.
Exactly.
I was cheering for her the whole book.
That's the only character I actually cared about was Knives Chow.
Yeah.
Because she actually had an arc to her.
Yeah.
She wasn't a douche throughout the entire thing. But, quite frankly, I've never liked Scott Pilgrim. I got to work on the movie last year with the team and everything. It was fun. I enjoyed working on the film, but
there are certain parts of the film that I did really like. Because of the actors they cast, they were so brilliant.
And the soundtrack was fantastic. But other than that, I can't really recommend it. I mean, it's not a great film, and again, it's a character you cannot really connect with because he's such an ass.
Now, the other thing is the price point. This is $25.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much people are like that. It does have extras in it.
It does have a few, like, 10, 15 pages of extras, but really, is that worth an extra $10?
Yeah.
Honestly, I've never really liked Scott Pilgrim, and anyone who has will argue at length with me about it, and that's fine. I don't care.
But the only thing we really would like to hear about is, like, is the color thing a big issue for you?
Yeah, is it really a big issue?
Doing?
No, I don't think it is. Especially for $10 more than it would cost to get the original volumes. And the little tiny amount of extras that you get is not worth the price of admission. And quite frankly, as I said, I have not really liked Scott Pilgrim just because you can't care about these characters. That's the problem. It's written in such a way that these characters are such assholes that it's not anything like anyone hopefully acts in real life. Because if I ever met anyone who acted like this guy, I'd punch him in the face. Especially for the way he treats women.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's neither here nor there.
That's neither here nor there. But, honestly, I cannot recommend it, and... Unless you're a Scott Pilgrim fan and must have everything, then go out and get it. But for me, I've never been a fan, and I never will be. All right.
Couple more pieces of news.
Before I get to my ParaNorman review as well.
Yes.
Okay, so a bit of Fan Expo news that we heard about this past week.
Yes. I received a complaint from someone saying that because Patrick Stewart had canceled their big pass that they had bought for the entire weekend, the entire thing was refunded.
Yeah.
And then they had to actually go out and buy the pass again, obviously at a reduced rate. But here's the thing. You didn't have your space that you had gotten held for you.
Nope.
So if you kind of missed that your whole thing was refunded and you were expected to buy it again, you might have missed out. And some people did.
Yep. So, yeah, there's a lot of moaning and very pissed off people right now about that. And quite frankly, I can't disagree with them.
No, why don't you just refund the part that says, this much of your thing was Patrick Stewart, here's that back.
Why would you give back all the money when they still probably want to show up?
Yeah, it's like...
If people want to not go...
If they bought a pass for the whole weekend, it wasn't just to see Patrick Stewart. Come on.
I mean, really, honestly, please. Yeah. Another problem with Fan Expo this year was what they did to a whole bunch of their guest artists this year.
Yeah, the local ones,
Yeah. In the past years, guest artists would be given a table for free.
Which is awesome, by the way, that they did that.
Yeah. But this year, everyone got emailed or called and told, I'm sorry, we cannot give you a table this year. You will have to pay $200.
Which is fine. That part could be fine.
That's fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. But here's the kicker. We cannot guarantee you a space, even if you pay us the $200.
What?
Yeah. So, honestly, once again, Fan Expo shows they have no business sense whatsoever.
I don't know. It just seems like that kind of stuff is stupid, and it
is stupid.
It could be a really great show if there wasn't all of this other crap that goes on.
There's so much crap that goes on. It's one of the reasons I hate that show so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to go, but guess what? I don't generally like being there, except to see friends and stuff.
It's a shame though, because it could be a really positive weekend. I just wish that the people running it just
here's the thing.
use their brain.
It's not about the fans.
No.
It never has been with them. It's always been about the money for them. And that's the honest truth about it. And
so if you have a good or bad Fan Expo story, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Anyway, this past weekend I got a very cool opportunity to see the new film from Leica, ParaNorman.
Yeah, they did a preview, which was awesome.
And I got to take a few friends with me, and it was fantastic. Got to sit with your niece and nephew.
Yeah, who loved the movie.
They never shut up though.
Well, they're kids.
Yeah, exactly. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But fantastic film. I cannot recommend this film highly enough. Now, I will say I cannot recommend it for kids under 10.
Yeah, really young kids. But
now here's the thing. I'll preface that in that if your kid has seen before age 10 like Ghostbusters and stuff like that,
if they have
they'll be fine.
If they have some understanding of the dead and the afterlife and what that might mean, if you've had that discussion, then maybe they will go in and it's okay.
Yeah. But other than that, if they've seen that kind of stuff, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
There were a few scenes where your nephew was covering his eyes and like going, Jim,
intense.
tell me when it's okay to look. I'm like, okay, kiddo. But overall, this is a story about a kid named Norman, who basically can see the dead.
And he can talk to them, right?
Yeah, he can talk to them and interact and whatnot. And of course, his parents are very concerned and think he's crazy, and everyone at school makes fun of him, and he makes a new friend who's basically the fat kid in school and everything. And through that, he meets up with his uncle, his crazy uncle, who can also see the dead, who's voiced by John Goodman.
Love him.
And unfortunately, he dies before he can stop the witch's curse from happening. So it's up to Norman now to stop the witch's curse before the zombies rise.
Ah, okay. My nephew would have been right into that part.
Yeah.
Zombies, yay!
Yeah. He liked the zombies. He's like, these aren't scary zombies like in other films.
No.
Then of course I had to tell him that I've been a zombie. So then he looked at me like, ah. But so basically, what it comes down to is the story is just so humanizing, and you really feel for these characters.
I thought it was a really beautiful looking film too.
Oh, it is. It is simply gorgeous to look at. When the stuff is going on, and you just look at the backgrounds and all the work that went into this film, it is just gorgeous. And the moral at the end of the story is beautifully done.
Good.
And it really is touching. And it's like the family learns to love their son for who he is and not judge him and everything like that. There's a really great scene that is just a one-off line at the very end of the film. And it had me cheering and laughing at the same time because...
We don't want to say it.
I don't want to say it. But it's basically... Norman's friend has a big brother. Okay? And Norman's sister falls in love with him. And it all comes down to you're thinking these guys are going to get together, and then there's a line at the very end of the film
that just
and
yanks the rug out in front of you,
and you're like, yes. And it was hilarious. And as much as I love that line, I think it's going to get the film in trouble with some parental groups. But quite frankly,
most kids it'll just
it'll go over their heads and they won't care. But I mean, some parents will probably be offended by that, and that's what sickens me the most. But see the film. Go see it. It is simply a beautiful film. And I was almost in tears at the very end because you just felt for this person. You felt for their situation. And as beautiful as Coraline was, this takes it and adds on a whole nother level. And just the beauty and the look of the film, it just really encapsulates you. And I have not seen that in an animated film in so long.
Yes, go see it.
Go see it. Please, go see it. Take the little ones as long as they're okay with stuff like that, and go see it. It has such a great moral, such great characters that you can really care for and get to know throughout the course of the film, and it is just beautifully done. I cannot recommend it highly enough, and quite frankly, it's just a perfect film overall. So, that's it for this week's episode, and we will see you next week. Now, get the phone.